Hello, and welcome to Heineken's Tech Insights, your podcast from Heineken Krakow. Throughout this podcast, we'll be sharing insights and learnings from some of Heineken's top specialists who are shaping the digital future of Heineken. Join us to meet our experts, gain valuable knowledge, and see how what happens in Krakow goes around the world. I am Mateusz Komander, your host, and I'm excited to introduce our first series, Agile Transformation at Heineken, Insights, Growth, and Learning from the Front Lines. Today, we're exploring the key traits that define a successful Agile coach and discussing how Scrum Masters can develop those skills to elevate for their impact. If you're a Scrum Master looking to grow in your role or simply curious about what sets an Agile coach apart, this episode is packed with insights to help you on that journey. So, welcome back, Dorota.
Hi, again.
Happy to see you. Dorota, before we jump into our main topic today, from your experience, what would be the specific quality or some specific skill that really sets someone up for a success as an Agile coach? What would that be in your opinion?
Mm-hmm. I won't say about obvious things like, understanding coaching, mentoring, facilitating. I would like to say about two things that I think that are important from my experience. So the first one is looking from the systemic perspective and being able to look from the bigger picture. So knowing something about, for example, system thinking, system design. As you know that sometimes changes in one department can cause something in another, and you need to be aware of these unexpected things that can happen.
So not only be aware, but also know how to support and react if that occurs.
Yes, and analyze the system. So what will happen if I change it in one part? What will happen with other parts? So to avoid local optimizations, for example.
Okay, to be more predictable in the actions that you are doing or providing, the changes that are happening.
Yeah, and second one that from my experience is leading without authority. It's not something that we usually think about. But if you look from the perspective of being Agile coach, you don't have the hierarchical being managerial.
Being a manager for a specific team or specific group.
Exactly.
Yeah?
And you still need to influence, change, talk with stakeholders, talk with teams, and introduce changes. So leading without authority and knowing how to influence people, do the storytelling, for example, is something important as a skill for Agile coach.
That's a very important point. I think that many of our colleagues are struggling with that, and I do believe that quite often we can hear that. How can I do some changes if manager or project manager or whomever is there overseeing the team doesn't listen to me? Yeah, so you need to be able to do the impact even though you are not specifically a manager there.
Yeah, or I hear sometimes that if I would be a manager or if I would have this hierarchical authority, then it would be different.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, having said that, from then navigating maybe from those general traits of an Agile coach, what are the specific qualities that we within Heineken are particularly looking for within Agile coaches? What is important for the Agile coaches within Heineken?
So being able to work in a big organization and seeing this big picture. I know that I talk that it's a generic skill for us, for Agile coach, but this is a really important skill in Heineken, as we have many portfolios. And for example, program that I now work in is cross portfolios and for implementing it in many opcos. So you need to be able to see these dependencies and help with that.
Yeah, our so-called DBB train. Yeah, like everyone trying to jump on it, and this is quite an influence and impact for all of the portfolios who are trying to be part of this.
Yeah, so if you want to be good influence, impactful Agile coach, then you need to understand that aspect of systemic thinking.
Okay, so then how do you see the role of a Scrum Master evolving into that of an Agile Coach? What similarities and key differences would you point out? We know that within Scrum itself, we don't differentiate between, let's say, responsibilities of a Scrum Master and Agile Coaches per se. And I know that this were rather driven from the industry, how we are differentiating Scrum Masters and Agile Coaches. And how do you see that? How the Scrum Master, looking now into his career path, could become one of the Agile Coaches?
Industry is one source, but I think that also large organization is the other, because being Scrum Master, for example, as it is in HEINEKEN, it's mostly for team level. And I always thought in my previous experience that if I'm Scrum Master, Agile Coach, it doesn't matter. Yes, I'm just coaching organization, changing environment, working with team, with product owners, with organizations, so on all levels. But looking from the perspective of large organization, I think that distinguish is actually helpful.
Okay.
Because then you can have focus. So you can work either with the team and introducing changes and Scrum Agile practices on team level and on, for example, portfolio level. But then when we go up in the level of organization, cross portfolio, cross end-to-end for the organization, from gathering requirements to deployment, then you need different focus. So I would not even say that it's a completely different skill set, but different focus.
It's rather, that's quite a valuable point. I do believe what you said is important to understand that within Scrum Master, there will be at some point how much you can do, because you are on a daily basis with a team or two teams. Yeah. You maybe can go up 1 or 2 levels to support the change, but then what to do higher up? You may not be able to reach within a hierarchical organization to the leadership team with the changes. And you may need, as a Scrum Master who is working with the teams, a specific support. Yes. And this support is then provided working top-down a little bit more, if I may say that, top-down support from the Agile Coach, actually.
Yeah, and then you work hand-in-hand, Scrum Master with Agile Coaches, to have this experience of the transformation and of changes as an integral one. Yeah, so on the higher level of organization with leadership and also on team level.
Yeah, quite a good summary, exactly. So then for Scrum Masters, then aiming to grow into Agile Coaches, because you mentioned about, previously you mentioned about the system thinking. Yeah? We said that there are maybe not a skill set differentiation, but definitely on the level where the Agile Coach and Scrum Masters works. So then if the Scrum Master would be aiming to become Agile Coach, which areas he or she should develop to become one? What kind of specific experiences or practices you would recommend to gain by that Scrum Master? With the level
of changes when you work, also skills needs to be developed different. So I think that one of the most important is how to, I don't know if this is skill, but how to speak with managers. So they actually listen to you, and they can be onboarded on the journey that you want to take the organization with you.
Yeah.
So how to, for example, do the storytelling? Yeah.
Exactly. I do agree with that. But like with my past experience, I do definitely see the difference between working with the employees in general, with managers or the middle management per se, or lower managers. It's completely different to working with the leadership team, with the C-level management. They have different language. Usually you are trying to, and to gain their buy-in, you need to be able to speak their language actually.
Yeah, and this is one of the skills that you need to learn as a Scrum Master if you start to want to become Agile Coach and work on a higher level of organizations. And when I tell about storytelling, it's something that we already touched in the podcast one. So if you've been somewhere, you saw something, it's not just that you are introducing to the team and to the organization, this is good practice, just go with it. Believe me, I know what I do. But it's more about showing them why and what they can get out of it. with touching emotions, so they can feel that if we are there, there would be something, for example, is going to change.
I believe we had that in our past discussions at some point, that we should not necessarily negotiate with everyone, but to inspire others to change.
Yes, exactly. And this is what I meant with storytelling.
Okay. So then, what are some common challenges you've seen Scrum Masters face as they try to step into the Agile Coach role? Like, at some point, we always have the learning curve at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So how we can, having the mindset of a Scrum Master, mostly focus on the team and a little bit on a lower level support, a lower level of organizational support, how we can overcome that obstacle that we will probably see in front of us when we became an Agile Coach.
Mm-hmm. I would recommend not focusing on practices so much and on mechanics so much. This is what I see sometimes in when Scrum Masters work and become an Agile Coach. They are so focused on scaled, for example, SAFe, Nexus, LESS, and on mechanics and on practices which are in these methodologies. But look from the broader perspective and what actually can help. So look, for example, for what pain points are in the organization and how we can solve them with Agile practices. So the other way around, not introducing Agile practices just for Agile practices.
Okay, so a little bit like looking on the SAFe, how SAFe are introducing, like start with teaching everyone SAFe in the organization. Yeah, this is how they are trying to do. You are proposing the other way around. So look into the problems and try to solve the problems with how you can introduce some specific practices.
Yeah, so for example, when we talk about PI planning, which I was not a fan of previously from SAFe, this is also practice that can help you with big organization. When you have a problem, for example, with quarterly planning, with dependencies, maybe this is an idea to try. But still have in mind what's the problem and that this is the solution to solve the problem. So evaluate after 1-2 times if it really solves the problem. Because if not, then it was not the best practice to introduce. Then you can change the path, but still the solution or the outcome that you would like to get is the same. You're just looking for different practice that can be helpful.
That's true. Like, this is very actually interesting point that I believe the PI planning itself, it assumes that you have very, let's say, flexible budgeting within the organization. But on the other hand, when you have an organization who has much more strict budgeting, and for example, the plans are more like annual or long-term plans in terms of how the budgets are spread across the teams, PI planning may not necessarily be the answer for that specific solution. You may need to look for a broader perspective.
Yeah, so exactly. So look from the problem and then try to find a solution. And second recommendation that I would have for Scrum Masters is honor the past.
Okay.
As usually when you enter this level of organization, you see many things that are not working. And it's not because someone has bad skills or they want this to work this way. No, it's because of the busyness, because of the amount of work that is on this level. So honor the past and the way we get there, and try to not be implementing something as ideal 100%, but what's one step forward. That already would be an improvement.
Maybe from my point of view, how I sometimes see that is like Scrum Masters or people who are used to having the changes or the impact of the changes visible quite fast on a team level. It's much harder to steer a big boat, which is or big ship, which is an organization actually. So the changes quite often are not that visible within a short period of time. They are visible if you compare like bigger or wider perspective.
Yeah, you need to be very patient and curious as well. Yeah, to look why things work in this way that you see them.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, Dorota, thank you very much. And maybe then, before we wrap up, if you could leave our listeners with just one key learning point about what makes a successful Agile coach, especially here in Heineken, what would it be?
I would say that being able to link practices to expected results and telling them that in a way that people feel inspired and they want to try it just after they listen to you. Yeah, this is something great. This is something that we would like to really do. Dorota, help us with that. We want to be there. We feel that.
So encourage to experimentation and do it right away.
Yes.
Okay,
exactly.
Perfect.
Design in small portions and go with the flow.
Perfect. Thank you, Dorota, for sharing that valuable insight, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, so to briefly summarize, throughout this episode, we took a close look at the unique traits that we at Heineken value in Agile Coach, from fostering adaptability throughout the system thinking approach and be able to understand the needs of the people we are working with. We've also discussed the journey that Scrum Masters can take to develop into the Agile Coach, understanding the key differences between the two roles. So this is plenty to consider as the Scrum Masters are developing into the roles of Agile Coaches. To stay connected, be sure to subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, and follow Heineken Global Shared Services on LinkedIn. And remember, here at Heineken, we are always looking for rising stars who are ready to make an impact. If you are interested in joining us, you can explore our open positions at heinekenkrakow.pl. We'll be back with more insights from Heineken's agile and digital transformation journey, showing how what happens in Krakow goes around the world. Join us next time to keep learning, growing, and adapting.